Welcome to At Home with Music, and I've got a sad story to tell you in this video. When I first started taking piano lessons, I was like any other student. I learned to read the treble clef and the bass clef. I learned the note values, half notes, whole notes, quarter notes. I learned sharps and flats and key signatures. I learned how to play little piano pieces as directed by my teacher. But somewhere along the way, I learned that I had what people called perfect pitch or absolute pitch. I was able to identify a note when I heard it without any reference. When my teacher discovered that I could do this, well, she was amazed, and she informed me that not every musician had perfect pitch. I, in turn, was amazed because I thought every musician could do this. I thought it was just a normal skill that you developed when you learned to play the piano. I couldn't imagine being a musician without being able to identify pitches upon hearing them, or singing a note when asked. For example, somebody could ask me to sing a C or an A flat or whatever, and I could do it without any type of reference. I thought this was a natural ability that every musician possessed. As I continued with my music education, my perfect pitch was almost like a fun party trick. When I was at school, my fellow students would go to the piano, make me turn my back to the piano, play a note, and ask me to identify it. Well, I could do that as easily as I could see color. Another variation of this game was when they would reach inside the piano and pluck a string, and I would immediately play the note that they plucked. Why, it was the easiest thing in the world for me. I could listen to any piece of music and immediately tell you what key it was in. I could even hear quarter tones and smaller increments of pitch. I could always tell when an instrument was out of tune. I also discovered that there were records, pop records recorded in the 60s where the tape was slowed down or sped up, and the song would be in a key that I would say was in the crack. It's halfway between A and B flat. When I was in college as a music major, there were certain exercises that we were all required to perform. One of them was called music dictation. The teacher would play a tune on the piano, and we were instructed to notate this tune to the best of our ability. Of course, they'd give us a starting note, which I considered completely unnecessary. And I found this exercise exceedingly easy, and very much like just writing down what somebody said in English. We also had ear training, where we learned to identify intervals and chords and so on. Once again, this was not a challenge for me. And in fact, after a while, the teachers, recognizing that I had perfect pitch, they'd say, well, you go to the cafeteria, have a cup of coffee. Now, I didn't drink coffee at the time, so I'd have a glass of milk or a cookie. But I would get an A in ear training class. As a professional musician, my ability to identify pitch helped me learn songs very quickly after hearing them only once or twice maybe, without the aid of sheet music. When I began to accompany guitar-playing songwriters, I would never hear the song ahead of time, and they'd tell me, well, I'm playing in the key of G. And I, being somewhat of a smart aleck when I was younger, would say, you don't need to tell me that. Just play the first chord and I'll know exactly what you're doing. Then I could accompany them, often correctly guessing what chords were going to be coming up next. There was, however, one thing I found difficult to do as a result of having absolute pitch or having perfect pitch, and that was using the transpose button on a keyboard. Now, those of you who have keyboards, you know that you can use this function. It's on most keyboards. You can use it to transpose your playing to another key without actually having to play in that key. So you could play a song in C major, but by using the transpose button, it would sound as though you were playing in A flat, F, G, any key for that matter. But if I went to a keyboard to play and somebody before me had used the transpose button to change the key and they didn't change it back, that would throw me completely off. When I played a C, I expected to hear a C. And if I heard some other pitch, well, then I'd try to find that pitch on the keyboard, and I'd hit that key and it would be wrong. and I'd be thrown off. It could be very confusing. So I learned to play in every key, which, incidentally, is not a bad thing for every keyboardist to know how to do. If you can play in every key, then you will never need a transpose button. But now, we fast forward to today. I am now almost 66 years old, and I have discovered something rather alarming. I seem to be losing my perfect pitch. If I'm listening to a song or a classical piece that I've already heard, then of course I already know what key it's in. But if I'm hearing a song for the first time, I can no longer identify the key immediately. I can get close, but I'm often off by half a step or even more. And I found this very disconcerting. I thought there was something wrong with me. But after doing a little bit more research, I discovered that this was a rather common phenomenon. Now, perfect pitch, that's generally considered to be a rare and valuable skill. It's not as valuable as people think it is. And it is still not fully understood by scientists. Some researchers believe that perfect pitch is a result of genetic, environmental factors. I don't know. It was just something that I was able to do. I had that ability. But now, I don't have it anymore. There's a limited bit of scientific research on losing your perfect pitch, and there's some anecdotal evidence that suggests that individuals with perfect pitch may experience a decline in their ability as they age, or if they do not regularly engage in musical activities. Well, I still regularly engage in musical activities. And I've learned through my individual research that experiences with perfect pitch may vary, and there's more research needed to fully understand the potential for losing this ability. Well, great. That doesn't help me very much. How do I compensate for losing my perfect pitch or having it wobble on me? Well, I console myself with the fact that I still have relative pitch, which, as it turns out, is just as valuable as perfect pitch, and you can learn relative pitch. Some of the greatest musicians of all time operate without perfect pitch. You give them a starting note, and they have relative pitch, and it's flawless. They can stay in tune. They can identify intervals, chords. You know what's even more frustrating is sometimes I feel as though my perfect pitch is coming back, but it doesn't last. And I find myself once again being off by a half step or even a whole step. So now I hope that I can at least maintain relative pitch as I continue to get older. There's no way I can stop getting older, but getting older will never stop me from making music. So I don't tell you all this about having perfect pitch in order so that you can say, wow, how great are you? It's not that big a deal, actually. You can be just as good a musician with relative pitch as you can with perfect pitch. Somebody just has to give you a starting note. And in fact, you can train your ear to the point where you have what is almost perfect pitch. Now, there are some who say you can learn to have perfect pitch. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I don't know. All I know is I started out with it, and now it's not so perfect anymore. But it's good enough. Relative pitch serves me just as well as perfect pitch did. So that's my little story. It's not really all that sad. I'm still making music and enjoying it very much. Let me know what you think. Do you know a musician who has perfect pitch? Do you have perfect pitch? Are you interested in developing your ear so that you can identify intervals and chords and things like that? Well, that is definitely something with which I can help you, or I can help you with, however you want to put that. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, of course, leave those in the comment section and I will respond. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. It helps the channel a lot. Also, remember to like this video as well and share this video with your friends, all your musician friends, whether they have perfect pitch or not. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next one.